And today's hashtag One Lucky Guy, the editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com and host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Ben Shapiro himself is here, and he is outnumbered.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
I've only seen you in pictures. Next to what you're writing or what you're talking about. It's great to see you.
Yeah, I'm human. Thank you. Yeah.
It's always good to have you.
Welcome.
And thanks for being here. Let's get started. That was Ricky King's point to me this morning, right, Ben? So he's saying this is going to hurt the people of his state. It's going to hurt in their pocketbooks. It's going to hurt them politically. He's obviously still a firm no on the House plan.
Well, you're going to see a lot of no's from places like California and New York because the House plan gets rid of the state tax deduction. So all the state income tax is no longer. You used to be able to count that against your federal income tax. Now you no longer can. So, you know, I'm going to pay a lot more taxes in California. The same thing is going to happen in New York. But listen, I'm not in love with the House tax plan, but obviously everything that you're saying is exactly correct. I mean, it's the idea that this is some sort of whopping tax break for the upper class is just not true.
It's not.
It's all ours.
So will we see the House address the individual mandate that we are seeing happening in the Senate right now? Guidance from the Hill is that we would see a lot of struggle with the House bill. Moderates would have a huge problem with that. Will they go there?
Well, I mean, it does cause the possibility of a death spiral in Obamacare prices unless they backfill it with a bunch of federal funding. So, I mean, this is the part that nobody wants to talk about. We can talk about getting rid of the individual mandate, but when the prices start to spiral out of control, who's going to own that now? Is it going to be the Republicans who repealed the individual mandate and then didn't provide the federal funding, or are they going to provide the federal funding and then they're responsible for Obamacare?
Going after the Republican leader and the Senate, he tweeted this: Alabamians will not be fooled by this hashtag inside hit job. Mitch McConnell's days as majority leader are coming to an end very soon. The fight has just begun. Senator McConnell says he's already spoken with President Trump about Moore, and they will speak again soon. Meanwhile, the RNC is cutting ties with Moore, and a growing number of Republicans are denouncing his candidacy. New York's Lee Zeldin tweeted this: it's about that time for that creepy Roy Moore dude to exit stage left. He should step aside and let someone take his spot on the ballot who doesn't prey upon young teenage girls as a grown man. Ben, your thoughts?
I mean, he needs to go. He's not going to go, and it's going to be a continuing nightmare for the Republicans for at least the next month, probably far beyond that. Of course he needs to go. He has not provided any explanation as to why the allegations are false. The allegations themselves are, I think, highly credible. Here's what people have to ask. If this were said about a Democrat, if all these allegations were made about a Democrat, would you be sitting there defending Roy Moore, or would you be sitting there saying this person is guilty? Right, and this is what I find so distasteful about this entire debate, is that there are a lot of people on the right who are willing to jump down the throat of Anthony Weiner, and rightly so, who are now sitting around saying this is a conspiracy against Roy Moore. Look, just because it's political, and it is political, does not mean the allegations are false. Okay, the allegations can still be true. And now you have to determine whether you think an alleged child molester should be sitting in the Senate.
We know the Clinton campaign, the Democrat National Committee paid for, through the law firm, paid for the dossier. We know that happened, and it sure looks like the FBI was paying the author of that document, and it sure looks like a major political party was working with the federal government so that they could then get a warrant to spy on Americans associated with President Trump's campaign. That's what it looks like.
It looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
All right, but the door is still left open, isn't it, Ben?
I mean, the door's still open, but I got to say, I'm with Sessions on this one. I mean, Sessions, I assume, has seen more evidence, or at least as much evidence as the members of Congress have. And he's the one who has to appoint the special counsel. And he's also the one who has to say, I'm so compromised that I have to appoint someone who is not me, right? The reason you appoint a special counsel, he's hired to do the job, right? We're paying him to do the job. The reason to appoint a special counsel is because the idea would be that he is too biased to investigate the issue that he's looking at right now. I don't think that's right. And I think that he is correct. I mean, just putting on my lawyer hat here, the idea that you're suspicious of something does not mean
But
that
do the president's tweets that we just read, does it sort of make it look like the president is influencing his decision here?
Well, it makes it look like he's influencing his decision the other way, right? I mean, Sessions is not actually appointing a special counsel, and Trump obviously wants
I wasn't indicating influencing either way, but does that make Sessions have to push back harder?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that if Sessions, I wouldn't want to challenge Sessions' honesty on this and feel like, okay, well, Trump tweeted something, therefore Sessions went ahead and did it. I mean, we've seen Sessions buck him a few times already.
I have a quick question for you, though. And Judge Napolitano, our Fox News contributor and senior judicial analyst here at Fox News, and I have been talking about this for days, about how if you appoint a special counsel, how does it change politically the DOJ? Are you undercutting it? And the judge says, yeah, you're weakening that apparatus if you continue to do this. What you're saying is outside the people's vote, because you vote for the people who have the jobs right now to look at it. When you put a special counsel in there, that's not a person who got there through the divisions of election.
And not just that, every time you think about firing a special counsel, which would be the only way to end an investigation, now you're bringing on yourself a firestorm that wouldn't exist if the DOJ just initiated and then ended an investigation.
Yeah, so that you lose your accountability there.
You were looking to say something, though, and maybe this will tee it up. I think the American people just want to get to the bottom of this. They want to know why an exoneration letter was written by James Comey prior to the investigation playing out and the interviews actually happening. They want to know, to Trish's point, why that uranium deal was done. I mean, anybody could have looked at that and said that was a bad deal.
So
they just want
somebody
answers.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And I also think that a lot of the suspicion that's falling on Sessions now, especially from Democrats, is utterly misplaced, given the fact that Eric Holder was openly calling himself Barack Obama's wingman. And Barack Obama was protecting him from being held in contempt by putting things in privileged, status. So the idea that Sessions is the one who's compromised when it comes to the Attorney General's office, but Eric Holder was not. Eric Holder was the most corrupt Attorney General, certainly, of my lifetime. And that has been obscured in large measure by all of the hubbub and smoke about Sessions that really amounts to nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
General Robert Keller went on to say conflicting signals can result in a loss of confidence, confusion, and paralysis in the operating forces at a critical moment. So you don't want to tinker too much with the power of the president.
And this is absurd. I mean, it's actually, I think, unconstitutional for them to try and take the power away from the president to order an immediate strike if exigent circumstances require it. I mean, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces.
Why do you think Corker and others are saying this?
Well, I mean, Corker hates Trump. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Corker and Trump don't get along anymore after Corker did not become Secretary of State. And now Corker is making a solid living, I think, afterward, going around calling President Trump crazy when he was willing to be a Secretary of State for a few minutes there. But this sort of talk that Trump is going to randomly launch nuclear weapons, what I'm wondering is, yes, Trump says ridiculous things on Twitter sometimes. I make fun of him for the things he says on Twitter sometimes. Has his activity as commander-in-chief been this volatile that everyone is seriously worried that he's just going to randomly launch a nuke at Kim Jong-un?
Doesn't this play right into his strategy, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. I think that every time Democrats overreach, I think every day, or Corker, anybody who opposes him overreaches by suggesting that he is completely insane and willing to launch nuclear weapons because Kim Jong-un called him old or something.
But doesn't he want Kim Jong-un to think that about him and his strategy as well?
I mean, I'm not sure what. I'll be frank. I don't know what he wants Kim Jong-un to think. I mean, he tweets that Kim Jong-un is fat and short, so I'm not sure what he wants Kim Jong-un to think. And I think he would say the same thing about me if you were watching the segment. But that doesn't. I don't think that betrays any strategy on his part. But beyond that, I don't think that if you look at how he has conducted foreign policy, there's actually not much there to suggest that he is doing it on a whim. There's not much there to suggest that he is doing it just randomly. The most kind of knee-jerk thing that he did was the missile strike in Syria, which was followed up by very little concerted action in Syria and was widely praised by both sides of the aisle, actually.
Well, because he went after the use of chemical weapons in a way that the previous president was moving the line so much that it got erased out of the sand.
So, Ben, obviously you've got Democrats there saying that President Trump, it's a constitutional crisis, but doesn't it also have a destabilizing effect to try to weaponize impeachment?
I mean, it has a destabilizing effect, I think, for Democrats more than it does for the country. I mean, the fact is that the Democrats at the top know that the worst thing that they can do right now is push impeachment preemptively before any crime has been committed, because nothing is going to rally Trump's base or alienate moderates quite like a stupid impeachment hearing. By the same token, the idea that the Democrats have been pushing for since the election, which is that Donald Trump is a nut, that Donald Trump is a constitutional danger, that he's an incipient Hitler. Well, that means that a lot of the Democratic base is saying, well, if all that's true, you need to get rid of him. Right? Do whatever you can to get rid of him now. So they have this split in their base that they can't exactly rectify. So it's weird to hear people like Nancy Pelosi and Tom Perez saying, well, that's not really a priority. Well, once you ratchet the urgency level up to 11, how is that not a priority?
The PIAC poll shows Americans are not very happy with that coverage, not one bit happy about that coverage, while the poll found that a majority trusts the media more than they trust President Trump. A larger majority, 58%, disapprove of the way the media has been covering the president, particularly its focus on negative stories about Mr. Trump. It's interesting. I think that people have kind of gotten their number. What do you think?
I think people are correct on both counts, actually. I think that they are right, that the media are completely unfair to President Trump, and they say things that are not true, and they spin narrative around a grain of truth, and the narrative itself won't be true. I think that President Trump's unfortunate tendency is to call things fake news that aren't actually fake news, and that throws it back in the court of the media. So I think both polls are true. I think people can say the media sucks at their job, and they can also say the media sucks at their job, and still President Trump doesn't tell us the truth enough. So I think that all of that can consistently be true. But I think that's part and parcel of the fact that Americans right now basically hate every institution. Like, if you look at polls about everything from the education system to the justice system to everything, Americans are really dissatisfied with all of the institutions which they feel have failed them on some elemental levels, and I think they're right.
Yeah, they're over it.
Yeah, and you have someone like John Dickerson, host of Face the Nation, who had said that the distrust in media is earned. You know, the media has earned the right for voters to distrust them. And I think look no further than the New York Times running an article about Senator Bob Menendez, who is literally on corruption trial right now without mentioning, I think it was a single time, that he was a Democrat. I mean, so if you want to look for media bias, look no further than that.
There's an endless history of this, too. I mean, if you look at the media today, there are a lot of articles in the last 2 days about, we got the Clintons wrong. Oh, we got Bill Clinton wrong. There was an article in Vox today.
Right.
Bill Clinton should have resigned in 1998. There was a New York Times op-ed yesterday about, we were wrong about Juanita Broderick.
But if anything comes of the way that the president has handled the media through all of this, is that they're not acting like they're not biased anymore, and they're really putting it out there more than they ever did before he was president.
That's certainly true, and I think that's where Trump has them on the ropes, is that they keep trying to maintain this patina of objectivity that does not exist. And it's so clear that it doesn't exist every single day. They'd be better off just saying, look, here's how I voted, I don't like President Trump, and now here's what I think of what he's doing.
And do you guys remember the ice cream story? There was like literally running a story about how many scoops of ice cream the president gets and other people not getting 2 scoops. It's
well,
like
fish food
fine.
story in Asia, right?
Well, this speaks
ice
to
cream's delicious. I don't blame
what
him.
the poll also got at, Lisa, which is that 53% of Americans are saying that the media just focuses too much on negative stories. And so, I mean, to your point, it can be as simple as an ice cream cone. If it's a negative story about the president, they're in.
Well, and the president, he hits on this a lot when he tweets out about the economy. You're not going to hear this in the media. He often tweets about the unemployment rate being at a 17-year low, the stock market being at an all-time high. To be fair, you don't hear that a lot in the mainstream.
No, you don't, unless you watch Fox Business, because we are all over it.
At 2 p.m.
Yes.
I got
you. No, but the reality is the market's on a tear. It's phenomenal. I mean, you cannot argue with that success. You've got a job market that's increasingly improving. We just need to get wages a little bit higher, which, you know, hopefully if you get a corporate tax cut, that'll help. There's a lot of good, optimistic stuff out there, I think, for people to write about and talk about, but it doesn't happen.
Well, it's the differential coverage that really makes people nuts, right? When the stock market was doing well under President Obama, and it really did, there was tons of coverage about it. We were hearing about it every day. The stock market has continued to do well faster under President Trump, and nothing.
Yeah, there you go.